Waterfront is one of the most expensive words in real estate, and on Lake Hartwell, half of the time, it doesn't mean what you think it means. Now, there are three kinds of waterfront, and only one of them lets you walk out your back door, down to the water, and hop onto your dock and still have deep water. Now, people hear waterfront and they picture their own dock every time, and it can mean deep water where you can have a dock, but also waterfront might be weather-dependent water with limits on a dock, the size, the style, all kinds of things. Or it can mean water where you can swim, but you'll never be able to have a dock. So same word when you say waterfront, but three totally different price tags and three completely different lifestyles. Now, here's the key on Hartwell. The lake itself is public land and it's managed by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. Everything between your property line, like think your backyard, and the Corps line, which is from this line in your backyard down to the water, not yours. It actually belongs to the Corps. Each property has trees that mark where your ownership ends and the Corps property begins. What you can do with that land, whether you can cut down trees, underbrush, have a dock down at your water, all of that is at the Corps' sole discretion. Also, what your neighbor does has nothing to do with what you can do. So don't let your neighbor be a benchmark for what would get approved for you. Every single property is totally unique. So depending upon what you want and what you'll be able and willing to pay for, waterfront can mean a lot of different things, and that's exactly why it's important to define this. Now, people do assume that if you can see water, that means you can just have a dock, you can do what you want with your dock. They can have any size, any style, whatever they're willing to pay for, but that assumption is very expensive. To get a dock permit, there are a few checkpoints, and then with your dock permit, there's an approved size that you can have as well. But first, you need to know how much water you have, so we call this your shoreline. Down at the water, you need at least 75 feet of shoreline. Less than that, go no further, do not pass go, do not collect $200, you're not getting a permit. But if you have at least 75 feet of shoreline, the next hurdle is this. You then have to make sure that there's a clear shot from your property to open water, meaning you don't pass into your neighbor's property or Corps property. Now, don't worry about the details of this. There's something called a projection survey. Somebody else determines that. But you have to clear this hurdle, because if not, you're not going to move on to the next qualifier to make sure that you get a dock. And that is this one, the spacing rule. Your dock has to sit at least 50 feet away from another dock on either side. So even if you're dockable the other two ways, if there's not 50 feet away from another dock on either side, then you would not get approved for your permit. So before you ever picture the dock, find out first what the lot can actually be approved for. Now, this is the one question almost no buyer asks until their boat's sitting in 2 feet of water in August. In order for the Corps to even accept a dock application, you need to have at least 4 feet of water where the gangwalk, the thing you walk on to get to the actual dock, connects. Now, this is not like when we're in a drought or the water's low. This is when we're at normal lake levels. So normal lake levels are considered 660 feet, okay? So where the gangwalk meets the dock, as long as there's 4 feet of water, they say, yes, go ahead, apply for a permit. But if it's sitting on dry land all the time, they're not gonna approve a permit, okay? Here's the thing that you wanna know. Between a usable dock and a permit, really, there's a lot of gray area. You wanna not just get the permit, you wanna make sure you're gonna get approved for a dock, for a place that you can put your boat and actually use it. But I need you to hear this. Here's what the permit will never promise you, that you will always have water. Hartwell water levels rise and fall. In a drought, your slip can turn into a mud flat, and the Corps even lets you chase water, meaning they'll let you let your dock out to try to chase water, but sometimes you're gonna run out of water if you're in a shallow cove or an area that doesn't have deep water. So you're asking the long-term question, how does this section of the lake behave when water levels drop? And that's exactly why you ask about depth before you ever fall in love with a property. Now pause. You're hearing me talk about Hartwell and you're wondering if Keowee is an option too. I mean, it's basically next door. A lot of buyers assume that they can shop both. You can, but let's talk about the differences in prices and the lakes in general. Now, let's say you have the same budget, but these are two totally different lakes, two completely different weekends and lifestyles. Here's what your money actually buys on each lake. Hartwell is the big, more water, more marinas, more to-do lake. It's got a relaxed, get out and boat all day feel, and the price points run all over the map, from older cabins to custom builds. Room to roam and more houses for the money, that is exactly what you're going to find on Lake Hartwell. Keowee, it's like the luxury cousin, okay? Greener, cleaner looking waters, more gated communities, more polished, it just feels more exclusive. but it's smaller and more contained, less explore all weekend, more settle in and let's soak in for the day. And you pay for that field. Keowee is the most expensive lake in the state of South Carolina, while Hartwell is one of the most affordable recreation large lakes in the state of South Carolina. Hartwell averages in the low 6 figures for prices, while Keowee Waterfront runs closer to 7 figures. So the owners are different too. Hartwell pulls the active boater, big group crowd. Keowee pulls the second home and retirement buyer who wants that resort style, gated, clear water lifestyle. So same money that you might be spending on 2 different lakes, but totally different weekends. Pick the lake life that matches the life you actually want to live. That's a lot of alliteration. So before you start your home buying journey on a big upstate lake, get answers to these questions first. Number 1, what waterfront really costs for the lifestyle you want, and pick your budget from there. Know if you would even consider a lot that can't ever be dockable probably. Know how deep the water really is. Could you put any boat there? Are you gonna have to take your boat out and trailer? What's that gonna look like? And then which lake actually fits you? Lastly, tap the bell to subscribe so you can stay informed on Lake Hartwell, Lake Keowee, and real estate across the upstate of South Carolina.